a very strong personality, and that's why he runs such a successful and good country, and really a great, I would say, a great country. Militarily, he's very powerful. People leave him alone, but he's really done a fantastic job. And from the moment we got off the plane, you look at the airports were beautiful. They built a new terminal for our arrival. Everything was beautiful. And so I just want to thank President Erdogan, who's done a fantastic job in Turkey. And I also want to thank NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Mark is an extraordinary person, smart, great leader. It's not easy leading so many leaders like that. You get a lot of leaders, and they're strong personalities, every one of them. And Mark does an unbelievable job. Couldn't find anybody better. I just want to say there was tremendous love in that room. The press got to see the sitting, but they didn't get to see the speaking. And I actually said, it's too bad the press couldn't see this, because every one of them spoke for a little while, and I spoke for a little while. And it's a lot of speeches. We kept it short, but it's too bad the press couldn't have seen what we were doing in that room, because it was very smart people, and they have a lot of good in their heart, not evil, good. And they're doing a great job for their country. The world is doing well. We have, as you know, the oil is down. We'll see whether or not we keep it down. We should keep it down. We're doing things that should have been done 47 years ago with Iran. And I just want to say that throughout my first term and over the past 18 months, the United States...
Thursday, July 9th, 2026. The United States has struck Iran for a second consecutive day. U.S. Central Command confirmed that American forces hit approximately 90 military targets in the latest wave of attacks, the largest operation since the ceasefire collapsed. Targets included an IRGC aerospace site in Bushehr, port infrastructure in Chabahar, transportation links in Golestan province, and facilities near Iranshahr airport in southeastern Iran. The strikes come after President Trump declared the ceasefire, quote, over, from the NATO summit stage in Ankara.
The call, and we'll be taking in over $1 trillion a year toward defense, and that's a tremendous amount of money. It's a big up. They were at 2%. They were actually at 1%. I got them to 2%. Then I wanted to get them to 5%, and we got up to 5% the last time. And they're, just again, if you could have seen the respect and the love in the room, and it's love really for the country, for our country. I don't want to say me, because you'll say, oh, he's so conceited. He's such a conceited person. But they do. I mean, they like the job I'm doing. They said, sir, we love you. These are grown people saying that. Isn't that nice? Maybe, I don't know, maybe they're trying to get to me. And in the way they did, because there was tremendous unity in that room. And I urge all nations to accelerate their plans to get the benchmark as quickly as possible. The benchmark is going to be that 5% number. That's the number it should have been for years. As a result of the commitment we achieved last year, defense spending of other NATO members surged by more than almost $150 billion in 2025, and much of that money is being spent on American-made equipment. They all want American-made equipment. We're pushing very hard to have the defense companies, and they're great. We make the best equipment, the Patriots and the Tomahawks, and everything we have is considered to be the best. Not by me, it's everybody wants it. I wish we made it faster, because we could sell as much as we could make. And as you know, I had Lockheed and every one of the companies, all of the companies who are Raytheon as an example, Boeing. So many of those great companies are now building plants. They had big plants, but they were using them 24/7. I said, that's not the way to do it. You have to build more plants. You don't have to just go overtime. No tax on overtime, remember that, please? No tax on overtime. Those people are happy. But they were doing literally 24 hours to get the Tomahawk's done. And
Iran hit back hard. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps announced it launched attack drones targeting U.S. military sites in Kuwait, Qatar, and Bahrain in retaliation. Iran also said it fired 8 missiles at a base in Jordan that houses American forces. Jordan's military confirmed it intercepted all 8 missiles. The Pentagon acknowledged the retaliatory strikes but said no American service members were killed. The regional escalation has erased any remaining hope that the ceasefire agreement signed just weeks ago between Trump and Pezeshkian can be salvaged.
if you build in Japan, or if you build in any place, now China is a much higher tariff. This is 100% tariff because we don't want to lose our jobs. We don't want to have our workers lose their jobs. We have the largest number of plants being built for the most money ever in the history of our country. Car plants, AI plants, and all other plants, pharmaceutical plants, chips. We're not giving anything. All we're saying is, if you don't start, we'll give them a year and a half to 2 years to build their plant. If they don't have that, they have to pay 100%, 200%, even 250%. If they make a chip, or if they make a car, or if they make pharmaceuticals. So the pharmaceutical companies are moving in at record levels. There's never been anything like what's happening. Let me put it a different way, put it to you in a more broad fashion. There has never been anything like has happened with this country or any other country in the history of the world. There has never been growth. There's never been manufacturing plants being built. We have so many being built. And in the big ones, like AI, some of the AI, we let them build their own electric plants. We force them to build. We don't want it because the old grid that we have wouldn't be able to supply it. They need, just as an industry, more energy than the entire country produces right now, when you think about it, which is incredible. So take all of the energy that the United States produces, and that one industry, which is so big, so powerful, it needs more than that. In fact, some people say almost double. So this was my idea. I said, you can never service that. You can't reinvigorate the grid. You can make it better, but nothing like that. You wouldn't be able to build. And we're leading China in AI, in just about everything. But we're leading China in AI. Even in TikTok, I was watching somebody say, oh, the TikTok deal, it's so bad well, because they say the deal was incredible, but they think the word that gets out is bad, except the numbers just came out, and I'm number one.
In a stunning intelligence revelation, Israel has warned the United States that Iran's elite Quds force has established a new assassination unit called Mukhtar, dedicated specifically to targeting American leaders, in particular President Trump. The Wall Street Journal reports that the unit is working with Mexican drug cartels and Iranians living abroad to plan and carry out attacks. Trump addressed the threat at the NATO summit, saying, quote, "They want to take out the U.S. leader, me." Iran has publicly vowed revenge for the killing of General Qasem Soleimani since 2020. In a major policy shift, President Trump announced that the United States will grant Ukraine a production license to manufacture Patriot interceptor missiles. Speaking alongside Ukrainian President Zelensky at the NATO summit, Trump said, quote, "We're going to give a license to you to make Patriots. That's pretty cool." The move addresses Ukraine's critical shortage of P.A.C. 3 interceptors needed to counter Russian ballistic missile strikes. Ukraine currently faces a deficit of roughly 2,000 interceptors per year. However, the contractors, Lockheed Martin and RTX, have not yet been formally notified.
It really does it means jobs. And again, I have to just say that when Toyota announced yesterday, I wasn't that surprised, but everybody wanted to get that. That's the largest, I think it's going to be the largest plant in the world, car plant, and they're moving into the United States. And again, they're doing that to avoid paying the tariff, because if you build your product here, you pay no tariff. If you don't, you pay a 25% tariff, depending, 35% sometimes 100%, 200%, depending on what the product is. As an example, we're doing great on steel because we charge tariffs. So now all of a sudden, the steel industry, which was absolutely dead a few years ago, I revived it in my first term, pretty good, and then they blew it and the Biden term. What a shame. They just blew it right out the window. They had no idea what they were doing. And I quickly revived it at the beginning of this term, year and a half. And the steel business is through the roof. We don't even make aluminum anymore. Now we're going to have the largest aluminum plant in the world being built in Oklahoma. I love Oklahoma. 77 out of 77 counties, 3 times. And it's great. It's a great state. They're going to be building the largest aluminum plant in the entire world in Oklahoma. It's starting very soon. Over the course of the past 2 days, I had a number of excellent discussions with other leaders at the summit and held productive bilateral meetings with essentially all of them. We had dinner last night. Just about all of them were there. President Erdogan of Turkey, as well as President Zelensky, and he just came in, as you probably saw, had a little press conference, and also President Iranshahr of Syria, who's doing an unbelievable job in unifying Syria. What a job he's doing. Syria was a mess with what happened with the previous government, you know that. Very dangerous place, and now it's just come together. He's done a fantastic job. People are talking about it. In every conversation, it was clear that America is back, and we're stronger and bigger and better than ever before. We have more jobs, as I said, than ever before. And we're respected again like maybe never before. We are so respected as a country. That's why I wish I told the Secretary.
Energy markets are in turmoil. Brent crude surged 5.2% in a single session, its strongest daily gain since May, settling near $78 per barrel. The spike followed renewed U.S. and Iranian hostilities and President Trump's warning that he may reinstate the naval blockade of Iran and could target Karg Island, Iran's main oil export terminal. Vessel tracking data shows a sharp decline in Strait of Hormuz transits, with most traffic concentrated along Iranian-approved routes. Analysts warn oil could spike above $100 if the strait is fully blocked.
And you know what? I may be gone too, because I'm their number one target. It's out all over the place. I'm their number one because they're scum. That's the way they act, and that's the way they've done it for 47 years. But I'm doing what's right for the country. I'm doing really what's right for the world. They have to be stopped. And they've killed thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. They killed 52,000 protesters over the last 3 months. So when you say we're not doing well, I think we're doing phenomenally well. Our military has been incredible. Plus, we had a blockade. Did we have a blockade? Did you ever see a blockade work that way? You know, for you that said we're not doing well there. We did great in Venezuela. That was a one-day war, and they're very good military. You know, it's a very military country. We took out one of the worst human beings in the world, Maduro, and he's in jail waiting for trial. But what he did to this country was incredible, including the fact, not only the drugs, but he had people pour into the country from prisons. They opened up their prisons. They allowed them to come in. We're getting them out. We're getting them all out. But we have, with the Biden open border policy, with Kamala as your border czar, remember? She was the border czar, but she never called Border Patrol, never once, and she never went to the border. The border was a disaster. Now it's fixed. It's fixed where we have nobody, and I don't do these numbers. 0 people come in through our border, through our southern border. 0. And that's been announced now every month for the last 12 months, 0. We had millions of people come in, under 25 million people, I think more than that under Biden. And they weren't people that you want, and for the most part, they were drug dealers. They were escaped from, think of it, all the prisons, and I'm not just talking about from South America, I'm talking about from the Congo, I'm talking about from all over the world. The prisons were emptied out. They were emptied out into our country. But they had the worst murderers. We had people allowed in our country that should never, and they walked in through an open border policy. And all I'm saying is that you're lucky we won this election. Yeah, please. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Iranshahr.
Who you with?
NTD
Why don't you say your name and who you're with? It's always helpful.
Thank you, Mr. President, for doing this. Iranshahr with NTD, with a sister media with the Epoch Times.
President Trump doubled down on his demand for Greenland while flying home aboard Air Force One from the NATO summit. Trump told reporters, quote, Greenland is very important for the United States. We took Greenland after World War II, and then stupidly we gave it back. When asked if he would pull U.S. troops from Europe to pressure allies, Trump said, quote, "A lot is going to depend on Greenland." Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen rejected the demand, stating simply, quote, "Greenland is not for sale." That is your Trump brief for Thursday, July 9th. The U.S. strikes Iran for a second day, Tehran retaliates across the Gulf, and an assassination plot against the president is revealed. For the latest each and every day, subscribe to the Trump Brief, USA. See you tomorrow.